Hi guys, my name is Gilad Maimon. I am the color coach at the Aveda Institute Tucson, and I'm super excited to be with you guys here today. Not only am I excited to be here, but I'm excited to talk to you guys about blondes. Being on the West Coast, the majority of the color services that we see are blondes, whether it's ashes, beiges, golds, balayage, highlights, you name it, we get it in. Not only in the salon setting, but also on the institute level. When we are talking about blondes, the majority of the classes and the education that we have out there is all about how to create blondes with enlightener, whether it's balayage techniques, whether it's hair painting, whether it's going in and doing a traditional highlight, or a combination of any of those different methods, but it's all using an enlightener. What I wanted to talk about today is how to actually use the Demi Plus line to create a little bit of a shadow or a smudge or even a little bit of a darker base to make that contrast happen to where someone's blonde actually looks brighter at the ends. What we are talking about doing today is actually going in and creating that artificial base with our new Demi Plus line. I am obsessed with the Demi Plus line, not only the condition, but the customizable tones, everything that you can create with it, I am completely in love with. So what we use today is going to be the formulas that are listed right above me. On top of that, if you go ahead and take a look, there is a photo of the blueprints that is going to be coming up. The way you're going to go ahead and create this is just a very simple 4-section, all the way from the front hairline to the nape and then ear to ear. Once you do that, it's going to be creating that Aveda A in the back with your slanted diagonals moving up. I was lucky enough to have a model who was just in-house. KK runs our experience center. And if you want to take a look at her before photo, what KK had was highlights that went all the way up to the base. Now they were beautiful and she was trying to get to that blonder look. It was a little bit too bright for her, so we wanted to go in and create a little bit more of that depth on her new growth and bring it down. So what we did was going in with that slanted diagonal pattern and took it all the way up the back 2 sections. This is going to continue as you get to that ear to ear parting. Once you've done that, you're actually going to move to the front hairline, and again with that slanted diagonal work all the way up to that center parting going all the way in the back. Once that happens, you're gonna go back to your original subsections at that nape of the neck, and using a wide tooth comb, go through and move that Demi Plus down with that comb all the way through the ends. I really love using the liquid developer for this technique because it slides really easily through the hair, and a lot of times because it's protein based, those blondes love it. It gives them that extra little boost of strength, and not only is the color coming down, but so is the condition. So if you want to take a look at Miss KK here, if you can see in comparison to that front hairline that we saw in the before photo, all we did was go in and use a combination of 7 and 8N with a little bit of that light ash. And what that did was give her a little bit of an artificial base through here, but the beautiful thing about it is if she turns, you can still see that dimension moving all the way through the top. So we're getting a little bit of that richer base, but that dimension not only is going all the way through here, but it blends really evenly and connects through the ends. As you can see, that base coming through here creates a really even transition from that nice kind of like deep rooted new growth all the way down to this beautiful blonde. We also did gloss her blonde a little bit at the end. She had a beautiful blonde coming in, but I wanted to create a little bit more of that kind of woodsy effect. So we went in and did a little bit of beige mixed in with a little bit of that light ash and ran it through her ends. More than that, making sure that every one of your guests is getting that botanical and that finish at the bowl is going to be incredibly important. I love this technique. The biggest reason is not only are you able to create a richer base that actually makes your blonde look a little bit brighter, but on top of that, I love being able to give my guests, not only on a salon setting, but also teach at the institute level, how the students are going to give their guests that really long lasting color. This is really, really simple to have that new growth grow in and create a really kind of blurred transition for when her base does come in. That way she's not a prisoner to the chair, she's not having to come in every 4 weeks, and it gives it that really lived in look, which I really love. I think that's where the trend has been for a really long time, but I think it's where we're going. People love to love their hair. They love to live in it. They love it to look a little bit worn in and just look really breezy and beautiful. And who doesn't like to look like they've just been surfing for a couple weeks? So I just want to walk you guys through one more time. You can see here she has this beautiful, really rich new growth color, but the blend is really seamless. And you can see that blonde come up where she was already highlighted through the top. It just looks a little bit richer, but still a little bit lighter than her base. The part is always really important, especially leaving these really front pieces really, really light and making sure that she's brightest around the face. My favorite area though is actually the crown. So when you're looking at here, I feel like you get the most amount of depth and the most amount of payoff from that beautiful created new growth area into this really seamless blonde. I like to give them names. So this to me is kind of like a honey wheat, if you want to call it that. And something that we take a lot of pride in, especially on an institute level, is making sure that every single guest is getting a finishing touch. So I was really lucky because KK always comes in looking beautiful, and she has already put
sweet pitaya
on her lips. So we're just gonna give her a really quick touch up with cherry blossom. So I think this is super important because the more I hear about Horst and what his legacy meant, I know that the finishing touch was a huge selling point for him. I know that it was a really big part of his legacy. So making sure that we're instilling this practice, not only on an institute level, but also in salons. So we can make sure that every student that is going into the Aveda industry knows that this is a huge point of difference for us. Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today, and thank you for having me.